Hello and welcome to another episode of Attacking Third, a CBS Sports soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, lead NWSL writer for CBS Sports, joined today, as always, by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman, broadcaster and analyst for CBS Sports. On today's show, we have a news and notes episode to go through. There's been a lot of cool things happening around the world of women's soccer, and we just wanted to recap some of those things together. Before we take a deep dive into everything happening, a quick reminder that you can catch a live Attacking Third show at the NWSL Championship. That's right. Lisa and I are going to be in Audi Field in Washington, D.C. on October 29th. So before the NWSL final, join us for a live pregame show with special guests and analysis. We're going to talk about some news, Lisa. There's some cool things going on. We got FIFA rankings. We've got some Ballon d'Or stuff to talk about. We've got all kinds of things. And, feeling a little congested, but I'm happy to be here. Like, as soon as I saw your face, I was like, okay, like I'm feeling better already.
I mean, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm sad that you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but hey, the change of seasons, it happens. I'm like emotionally drained from all like the incredible sports things that are happening in Philadelphia, and I'm so blessed. But like
Oh, Phillies.
Phillies, man, giving me heart attacks in the bottom of the ninth last night against the Padres. So I was like, what is happening? Like, just throw strikes. You don't have to go over 100 miles an hour over the plate every time. Just throw strikes, get them in the strike zone, and we'll move on. So Phillies won game one. We got game two this afternoon. And then they bring it back to Philadelphia on Friday. It's just like there's a lot happening. Luckily, the Eagles have a bye week this week. The Philadelphia Union are playing FC Cincinnati on Thursday in MLS semifinals. Like there's just so much happening, and NWSL finals on top of it. It's like it never stops. The fun never stops.
I love that you've got it all up here. You were like recapping all the Philly sports things going down. I love that. I love that for you. Sometimes you need a break from the sports with like a different sport, and then you just sort of balance.
Well, that's it. Like my whole life just really revolves around sports. So either
Yeah.
I'm talking about it with you, or I'm broadcasting game, or I'm going to be playing soccer. Like I play soccer all the time. My IM team that I play for in Philly, it's like a co-ed rec league. We are in our championship tonight. 9:30, I think we kick off PM tonight. So that's also in my brain. I'm like, gotta get psyched up for the championship tonight, Lise. And then I mean, baseball. It's baseball season right now. Red October. The city is buzzing because of it, and it's pretty cool.
I love that. We got to keep that same energy because there's a ton of cool things for us to chat about here, and it's all dropping like within the NWSL playoffs. So we've had our focus on that, right? So we've been talking a lot about the NWSL postseason, chatting with players ahead of their matches, and in between this, there's been like some cool things that have dropped, and we're just like, gosh, we really want to take the time to be able to chat about some of these things. So we're going to do that on today's episode. We're going to talk about the Ballon d'Or winner. We're going to talk about FIFA rankings. That was something that we haven't had a chance to react to. We're going to talk a little bit about NWSL end of the year awards. We're excited to talk about the finalists there. So let's just start at the top here. Let's keep it global, right? Let's talk about the Ballon d'Or winner back to back. Let me put respect on the name of Alexia Putellas. 2 years in a row winning this award. She finished ahead of Arsenal's Beth Mead and Chelsea's Sam Kerr. They both finished second and third, respectively. But Putellas walking away with her second award here. Very cool things.
Super huge. 28-year-old midfielder dealing with a bit of injury. So we didn't see her during the Euros this summer where England went on to win it with a ligament injury or something along those lines. But
it was
but the thing is, like, this award looks to the year prior, like the year that was before. So that's kind of how everything shook out there. In terms of the Americans, though, there was 3 United States internationals nominated for this award. It was Catarina Macario, Alex Morgan, and Trinity Rodman. And they ultimately rank how everyone does in this. That's why we know that it was Beth Mead second, Sam Kerr third. And so between the Americans, Catarina Macario ranked the highest at 9th in this award, Alex Morgan 13th, and Trinity Rodman 18th. So huge for Kat, who plays for Lyon right now in France. Well, not currently playing, dealing with a bit of an injury, that one, but she's on that team in France. So it's just I love this award. I love watching it and seeing all these athletes dressed up, like hitting the red carpet. Like that's really fun for me.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's like, it's relatively new still. Like this, the Ballon d'Or for this got launched in 2018 for women to be nominated, and Putellas has only won it twice, but has won it twice in a short span of time. So we're talking since like 2018. No other player has been able to go back to back, I believe. Anna Hedgeberg, I think, one, and then Megan Rapinoe, and then there was a pause, I believe, for the pandemic. But though this award hasn't been around for a long time, to sort of win it back to back in such a short period, I think is, I think it's very, very impressive for Putellas. And listen, we have been able to cover the games for FC Barcelona when it comes to things like Champions League and stuff like that. I remember last year with the women's ICC in Barcelona, participating and being able to go and watch Barcelona live in person. And I just got to say, like, if you ever find yourself with the opportunity to watch Alexia Putellas play soccer, please do so. It is literally going to be a gift to yourself. It's going to be a gift to your own eyeballs. Just a fantastic, fantastic player. She's I don't know if there's another more complete player right now in the world, even with the 2022 sort of kind of cut in half. I think that's what was part of what was so devastating when her ACL injury sort of came to life. It was just ahead of the Euros, and I think having that team, that Spain side sort of led by Putellas, I think a lot of folks were looking for Spain to perhaps lift that Euro title. It just didn't end up shaking out that way with her sidelined.
Yeah, it's truly devastating. But I mean, yeah, if you get the chance to watch her, just log on to the internet, watch her.
Well, yeah.
In person.
Highlights.
Go in person. I mean, it's just magical to watch this type of player play. It's like once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, it was cool to see it. I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on her timeline of things, like if she, makes it back to a certain amount within a certain timeline and is able to sort of get back out there and continue to produce, quite frankly, the way she was producing with Barcelona, I wouldn't be surprised if potentially a third down the line, for her. She's just had so much success with Barcelona, just winning every league game, Spanish Super Cups, Copa de Reinas, domestic trebles. So we'll see. We'll probably be talking about this player around this time next year as well. But some other news that dropped globally while we were keeping our focus on the postseason is new FIFA ranking. So while we were covering the United States women's national team during that international window, new FIFA rankings have dropped, and it's exciting time because, of course, everyone loves a ranking, right? Who doesn't love a ranking to where you could sort of, drop your opinion on how you feel about 1 through 10. But in terms of the top 10 FIFA Women's World Rankings, United States staying at number 1, number 2, Sweden, number 3, Germany, number 4, England, number 5, France, number 6, Spain, number 7, Canada, number 8, Netherlands, number 9, Brazil, and number 10, Korea, DPR. Did any of this shock you at all, Lisa? I know this is all, it's all a very complicated mathematical equation that the FIFA rankings sort of kind of fluctuate, but it's because of that, you got to try to keep it fair with the numbers, right? That's one aspect, and that's probably why we don't see too much change too often. I think Canada has stood kind of at a standstill, I think at 7.
So Spain jumped ahead of Canada. Spain was 8, so they jumped up to 6 in these rankings, which is a little bit interesting. Netherlands move a little bit too. So because of that, that's kind of how it shakes out. But really, it's the top 6 teams that is what everyone should be circling, that they really, really matter the most, because the World Cup draw for the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, the 6 seeded teams are the top 6 FIFA ranked teams. So that's the United States, Sweden, Germany, England, France, and Spain. So that's like the biggest change in this, because Spain jumped ahead of Canada and hits that number 6 spot. They now become a seeded team for the World Cup, which probably helps them moving forward based on like how the draw plays out and how everything happens, which also World Cup draw right around the corner, lest we not forget October 22nd. That's happening. But yeah, so that's probably like the biggest change and the biggest thing to note of this. Of course, the US still at the top, Sweden and Germany right at the top, 2 and 3 respectively. Yeah, excited to see how everything really plays out between these nations.
It's hard to believe that we're already going to be coming up on the draw. Like
Insane.
just I feel like we were just covering women's CONCACAF championship. Quite frankly, it's wild sort of think how much time has passed already. But you know, folks are already going to be taking a close eye at that. Like when that was something that came, you know, sort of adjacent to this. Like once the ranking is dropped, it also sort of solidifies the pots, right, for the draws that are going to be coming up. And I think everybody obviously is looking at that first pot that's going to have so many of these teams. Obviously, it's going to include the hosts as well. So the 2023 Women's World Cup, hosted by Australia and New Zealand, they're included in pot 1, A1, B1, United States, Sweden, Germany, England, France, and Spain, all within that first pot as well. Second pot, we're looking really strong as well. Canada, Netherlands, Brazil, Japan, Norway, Italy, China, Korea, Republic, and then pots 3 and 4 with additional teams as well. I don't know. I think, you know, look, once these rankings drop, Lisa, and I was thinking about the draw and just how some of these groups can shake out.
Mm-hmm.
There might be more than one group of death, quite frankly. I think in this one, I think everyone always saw that's like with the World Cup, you sort of look like who's going to be the group of death, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think there might be more than one.
I think there will be too, but I think the most important thing to look at if you're a US fan is no Sweden in the group. So that's what's going to happen, because Sweden and the United States have been in the same group for 5 consecutive World Cups, because maybe like our kryptonite a little bit. I think that honestly could help the United States. Yeah, but in terms of like group of death, it's anyone's game, right? Like we just saw the Euros this summer and the CONCACAF. Like we know how incredibly competitive women's football is becoming around the globe, and this World Cup is huge and it's massive. Being in Australia and hosted by those 2 nations, I think that gives them a little bit of an edge. So if you're in a group with New Zealand and Australia, like I'm sorry, they have the upper hand being at home, like playing where they are, knowing these stadiums, understanding the travel that goes jumping between the 2 countries. Yeah, I'm just not even sure. I'm so excited for it.
I am too. I think it just sort of feels like when something like the draw happens and you've got the different pots like in front of you, like it just sort of makes you, it's it's automatically one step closer, right, to the World Cup, and it just sort of starts to feel more real as this type of stuff kind of goes by. Like we're watching these international windows that are occurring right now. The United States closing out their calendar year against, top 10 ranked teams, already having that window against England and Spain. They've got a couple of friendlies coming up against Germany in November to close out the 2022 calendar year there. At that point, the draw will have already taken place, so it's just a very exciting time. It's just like absolutely setting the stage for what's going to happen in 2023. And there's still some teams that are hoping to achieve their World Cup dreams. Quite frankly, there are some national team programs that are gonna look to sort of find a final spot or two within the 2023 Women's World Cup. We see the intercontinental playoffs are going to come into play, interconfederation. So we've got Portugal, Cameroon, Thailand in the Group A playoff. We've got Chile, Senegal, Haiti in the Group B playoff, Group C playoff, Chinese Taipei, and Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, and Panama. So any of these teams can go ahead and still have like that final opportunity to make a push for the 2023 Women's World Cup. Let's have a little fun with it, Lisa. When you're looking at any of these teams, who's standing out for you? I know we have CONCACAF bias over here.
We got them circled a little bit. We do. I have Haiti and Panama circled a little bit on this one when I look at these teams. But this tournament happening in New Zealand, February 17th, it kicks off. The biggest teams that I'm looking at, I mean, I think Haiti. I've been really impressed with Haiti, and I know I've got CONCACAF bias there on that one. But this is a team that knows how to play, knows how to win, and knows how to score goals. Them being in a group with Chile and Senegal, I think that they could win this group, honestly. Like, I think that Haiti could come out on top in that Group B. Chinese Taipei, I was impressed with them, what they were able to do. Now, they're in a group with 4 because they've got Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, and Panama in that group. But, yeah, I mean, those are the ones that stand out to me. I would love to see another CONCACAF team push through, even just one, right? 2 spots out of this intercontinental play-in tournament will get in. So what about you? Any teams that stand out in particular?
Yeah, 100% Haiti. I think being able to cover them, kind of up close during July, I think it was a lot of fun for us. It was refreshing to see this team. It was good, quite frankly, to sort of see their evolution, right? This is a team that has a number of young players on it, and they've been playing together for a very long time. We're talking about since their youth program days, and they're now playing at this sort of senior international level, and it seems to be clicking at the right time, right? This, for folks looking at this, like, maybe they have a narrow view of this and saying, well, like, it's an interconfederation playoff. You didn't do well enough to solidify your place, right? But this is a huge honor to still have the opportunity to try to compete for a spot in the World Cup for your nation's program. And I love that Haiti is one of these teams that is involved in it. And so, yeah, of course, I've got them circled, Panama as well. But, we were also able to cover the Asian Cup, the Women's Asian Cup here with the games that were on Paramount Plus. So being able to sort of watch these teams up close as well and have access to the matches that were taking place. I know I thought that maybe Thailand was going to be one of those teams to break through and go to another World Cup, but listen, that tournament was so intense. It came down to like the final match days, and Thailand still has an opportunity here, but they really, really have to, sort of lock it up because, Cameroon and Portugal, that's a tough group right there. I think if I'm looking for just in this one, yes, Group C has the 4 teams, but I think Group A is got a lot of really good teams there.
Yeah. I mean, even Sandra, people in our chat right now, Sophia, Fourth Deconstruction, shouting out Portugal for Sophia, and then Portugal and Cameroon as teams that stand out.
Yeah.
The people watching live, they know Group
of
Death.
They know what I'm speaking. Group A, that might be Group of Death there for the Interconfederation playoffs. So we'll see. That's on the horizon right after the draw. So we're going to have the draw that takes place this coming weekend on October 22nd. And then these matches are going to be kicking things off early in 2023. I believe it's February 2023. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for sure and take a look at who are going to be the final teams sort of slotting their way into the 2023 Women's World Cup. So that's going to be it for the FIFA rankings and how things are, moving on with the build up to 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Let's shift back and pivot back to NWSL news here, Lisa. We have to chat about some end of the year awards. So while the NWSL postseason is thrilling, the quarterfinals absolutely set the tone for what we're probably going to see throughout the remainder of the NWSL playoffs. What the other side of that is that when it's the end of the regular season, as you're going into the postseason, you start getting a look at individual awards, right? So who are the nominees? What's up for grabs? And you have your staples, right? MVP is up for grabs. Defender of the Year is up for grabs. Goalkeeper of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. So what we have now are finalists for each one. Voting has concluded. So I hate to break it to you, if you were unable to vote for any of the end of the year awards, I believe the deadline was October the 18th, just ahead of midnight. But these are the finalists. We wanted to show them some love and give them some respect for earning nominations and being a finalist within these awards. Let's start at the top. Let's start with most valuable player. MVP honors finalists are listed as follow. We've got 5 in the category: Dabinia out of North Carolina Courage, Naomi Girma, San Diego Wave FC, Alex Morgan also repping San Diego, Mal Pugh, Chicago Red Stars, and Sophia Smith for Portland Thorns. I saw the finalists drop these. I said, this makes sense. I said, this is a good 5 finalists for MVP. I think you can make an argument for any of these players, quite frankly.
Yeah.
To sort of get MVP honors. Anyone maybe kind of leading these 5 for you?
Perhaps leading, it's really tough because you have to look at like the overall play of this particular athlete as well as how their team did, right? Because if you're an MVP of a league, your team has to be doing so incredibly well. So Naomi Girma being nominated for this, rookie out of Stanford, like that is a huge accomplishment. I love that she's nominated. I think it's so well deserved. I don't think Girma is going to win. She's nominated for a number of other awards as well. So I just don't see her winning the MVP. I would love for Dabinia to get this award. I think that she had a tremendous season with North Carolina, but the fact that North Carolina fell just short of making the postseason deters me a little bit from seeing that Dabinia win this one. Honestly, I think Sophia Smith is up there for me as one of the top players who was incredibly consistent this year. She developed from Challenge Cup all the way until this postseason. Portland finished number 2 in the standings. And then, of course, you've got Alex Morgan, your Golden Boot winner, and then Mallory Pugh, who's been on a tear. But I think Smith and Pugh are similar style players in what they've been able to do this year. And I think Smith takes the cake a little bit over Pugh for me in this one. But Golden Boot winner, Alex Morgan can win it as well.
That's true. We've seen a trend sometimes in the past that the Golden Boot winner sort of walks away with MVP honors. I believe it's only twice in the league's history where that hasn't sort of shook out in that final way. I believe there was a year in 2018 where I believe Sam Kerr got Golden Boot and Lindsey Horan got MVP honors. And I believe last year was also different in that Hatch got Golden Boot honors and Jess Fishlock won MVP honors. So I'm curious if there's going to be the bounce back to that, if somebody like Alex Morgan is going to walk away with Golden Boot and MVP honors. But I'm with you. I think you have to look at sort of a balanced season. You have to look at, the team and who they're representing and where they sort of, landed towards the end of the regular season. And I think in that case, Morgan does have a little bit of an argument, but I'm with you on Sophia Smith and Mal Pugh because I think you also want to look at a balanced season. Well, right. I think that's where Dabinia maybe falls off a little bit, outstanding season that she was able to put together for North Carolina Courage. But a lot of what we saw at Dabinia was towards the end of that second half of the season, really kind of bringing that surge later into the regular season, where somebody like Smith and a Pugh and a Morgan, you can sort of see their impact throughout the duration of the regular season. So I think it might come down to that trio. Although, listen, I would love to see a defender win MVP.
I know.
I would love to see it. I think Naomi Girma might have her, might be a lock for a different award, which, she's nominated for a few. It's not just MVP. Defender of the Year honors, finalists consist of Alana Cook, Naomi Girma, Sophia Huerta, Carson Pickett, and Becky Sauerbrunn. Lisa, listen, I'm just going to put it out there. I want to see Defender of the Year. I want to see it go to a center back. I love outside backs. I love fullbacks. I think they're integral to the modern era of the game. But if you're getting nominated because of the assists that you're providing or the goals that you're scoring as a defender, that doesn't scream Defender of the Year honors for me. So I'm looking at Carson Pickett in this one I'm looking at Naomi Girma to walk away with this one over somebody like a Sofia Huerta or a Carson Pickett. How about you?
I agree. I mean, I think we talked about this last year too. I know you and I personally have talked about this. A defender of the year shouldn't be someone that like has the most assists on a team. Like I want you as like a lockdown defender, like a 1v1 defender that no one gets by you. And Naomi Girma, 100%. Like this, she wins this award for me. It's no competition. The other defenders that are nominated, Huerta, Pickett, Cook, Sauerbrunn, like fantastic defenders. It's no shade towards them. This is, I mean, an incredibly competitive group. But when you look at the arc of the season and what Girma was able to do, grow as she's a rookie and she has solidified herself in Casey Stoney's backline as a team that expansion side made it to the playoffs, made it past the quarterfinals, like heading into what could be the championship of this NWSL. She's also about to be the United States starting center back moving forward. It's Girma 100%. Like there's just no question about it in my mind.
I love that. You're like, there's no question about it in my mind. You gotta add that it's your opinion. But no, I'm with you. I had a feeling that you and I would both sort of feel similarly about this award and who we think it might go to. Let's stick with sort of the defensive end of things. Let's look at Goalkeeper of the Year. 3 nominees for this one compared to 5 nominees for MVP and Defender of the Year and Rookie of the Year. So for Goalkeeper of the Year, it's AD French, Kaylin Sheridan, and Fallon Tullis Joyce. So you've got Kansas City, San Diego, and the Reign representing for Goalkeeper of the Year here. I think these are all outstanding goalkeepers. I thought they each had integral roles to play for each of these teams throughout the year. But when I'm looking at a goalkeeper that really sort of came through clutch and quite frankly made a name for themselves throughout this season, I'm looking at Fallon Tullis Joyce for the honor.
Yeah. I agree with you, Sandra, on this one. This one's really, really hard though, because these 3 goalkeepers had tremendous years. Both French and Sheridan like made it past the quarterfinals with their teams respectively into the postseason and kept their teams in a lot of games. But I agree. I think Fallon Tullis Joyce all year has been constantly talked about. I mean, it's hard though, because like, this one's really, really difficult for me because we know that Sheridan and French are incredibly goalkeepers. Like last year, we would have said that, yeah, they're great goalkeepers. I think French stepped it up this year and became a little bit better of a goalkeeper than she was perhaps in years past. Sheridan coming off of a Olympic gold with Canada and internationally doing everything that she does. Like, yes, of course she's good. She should be nominated for this. But I think that the best part about Fallon Tullis Joyce is that this was her first year in the NWSL. She played professionally before overseas, but came into this league, started and played every single minute under Laura Harvey for OL Reign. And they won the Shield a lot due in part to Fallon Tullis Joyce. I give it to Fallon Tullis Joyce for sure. I do.
Yeah, I think you can go back and take a look at sort of, even something like goals conceded, stuff like that. And that's kind of maybe more of a overall defensive shaped kind of statistic. But I believe with Ulrein, I think it's maybe 18 or 19 goals conceded at this point compared to French and their defense. I think of conceding about around 30 or so. So it's going to be tight. I think this one out of all of the finalists, I think this is going to be down to the wire. I think every vote's going to count, right? Kind of in this category. Let's take a look at Rookie of the Year. We're going back to 3 finalists as well for this role as well. It's Sam Coffey, Naomi Girma, and Diana Ordonez in this category. 3 rookies, 3 big seasons. I would argue that any of these players could have a strong argument for the role that they played on their teams, how essential they were, quite frankly, in their positions for their teams. But just when I thought, Lisa, that this was the year that there was going to be a defender as Rookie of the Year,
I know,
in Naomi Girma, Diana Ordonez just went ahead and did that. She just shattered a rookie record for most goals scored. I mean, eclipsed Rodman's goal scoring record in 2021. And quite frankly, helped North Carolina make some noise during this second half of the season where they were making a playoff push. But strong candidates, I think, in each of these players.
Yes, strong candidates. I still think Germa could honestly win this one. Yeah. And I echo everything that you just said about Ordonez because she did shatter goal scoring rookie records in the NWSL. But it's so easy for people to look at that and say, yeah, she deserves this. I think Sam Coffey could win this award flat out because this is a player that came in, developed herself in a brand new role at Penn State. She played higher up the field in the midfield. She was an attacking midfielder, and Rian Wilkinson dropped her deeper. She filled in for Angela Salem, right? Like, lest we not forget the role that Angela Salem played on this Portland Thorns team in the midfield. And after she retired last year, it was like, okay, Portland, how are they going to be without Salem in the midfield? Who's going to lock it down? And you get a rookie and Sam Coffey coming in and seamlessly having that transition be seen from Salem to Coffey. And this is a player that broke into the U.S. senior national team, got consistent minutes under Vlatko Ananovsky, and her play with Portland was fantastic this year. So like this is sometimes like opening the voting to just like regular fans like gets me a little bit skewed because I want to like make a case for someone like Coffey who doesn't have crazy stats. It's not like, hey, she scored 12 goals this year, or like someone like Germa that, like defensively, like stops so many goals because the defensive midfield role is such a silent role. And Coffey played it silently, but that's exactly how it should be played. That's exactly how it should be.
Oh no, I'm with you 100%. I do know that the finalists for those of us who are part of the NWSL Media Association, we do vote on finalists. I was a little bit surprised that Coffey did end up on this category, not because I don't think she deserves it, just because of how strong the 2022 rookie class is, and because of the arguments that you just made, where you're just kind of like the player that does sort of the dirty work and is sort of maybe not getting all the attention because their name isn't getting called all the time, whether it's goal scoring and stuff like that, can sometimes fall under the radar. So I was thrilled to see that she was listed as a finalist because of all those things that you mentioned. But, I almost kind of like, geez, like if there was ever a year to expand the finalists for Rookie of the Year, like this would have been the year to do that, because I'm like, you can make
who else would you have wanted nominated for Rookie of the Year that's not?
Oh my God, absolutely, Alex Loera.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I thought the year that Loera put together for Kansas City Current was outstanding. I think there was a lot that we're talking about a lot that's asked of players positionally. You made a great argument with Sam Coffey, sort of taking her and where she played positionally in college, and then sort of slotting her in more of a defensive mini role for Portland. I think you're looking at a player like Loera and sort of seeing how she has had to sort of play lower, kind of in the defensive back at times, or pushed higher, kind of in that defensive mid role. Wherever they were slotting her in, she was, she was sort of going ahead and delivering in those things. And I mean, my God, we look at just this quarterfinal match alone, she was integral to that buildup in that game-winning goal. So I absolutely think that Alex Loera had a case for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I like that argument. I understand why she's not nominated, though. I think that the role that she played at Kansas City was incredibly vital for the current team and their success. But when you stack her up against someone like Germa or Ordonez Coffey, I think that these three outshine what she was able to do this year, because she played such like a detailed role for Kansas City, whether she was in the center back, we saw her in the outside back, we saw her higher up the field. So like that versatility definitely gives her a notch up over these other rookies, but that because she was constantly moving around and playing different roles for Kansas City, she lacked a little bit of consistency in what she was able to do, because there would be moments, whether it was like a game or 2 games, where it was like, hey, like she's quiet, she's silent. Whereas I believe that every game that Coffee played in, Gurma played in, and Ordonez for the most part played in, it was, you always knew where they were. You always knew what was happening when they got on the ball or got near the ball. And for me, like Alex Luera, that didn't quite happen. Now, halfway through this season, I probably would have said, yeah, let's throw Luera on there. Let's throw Savannah DeMello on this list. But as the season goes and players come in and out, it's Rookie of the Year. You've got to be incredibly consistent, if not getting better and better and better by the end of the season. And with Coffee, Gurma, and Ordonez, they got better and better and better as this year went on.
I feel that 100%. I think that's probably the best sort of closing argument, I think, for these 3 in Rookie of the Year. Let's take a look at maybe the non-player award to sort of close things out. Coach of the Year finalists are as follows. It's Laura Harvey, Matt Potter, and Casey Stoney, with the honors finalist for 2022 NWSL Coach of the Year. I feel like this year's finalists were some of the easiest to choose and vote for, quite frankly, in this award. I don't know how you look at the continued success and legacy of Laura Harvey and ignore that. She absolutely got a vote out of me. Matt Potter, the turnaround that the Current have had this year, going from last place to now a semifinal appearance for the Current, I thought was huge. And Casey Stoney, obviously, right? First year in the league, playoff bound, now also going to the semifinals as well. That San Diego team never fell out of playoff contention throughout the duration of the regular season. I thought it was a no-brainer for these 3 as finalists in this category.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Laura Harvey's going to win it, not because she's not a great coach, but just stacked up against Potter and Stoney, I just don't think Harvey's going to win it. I mean, when you look at the start of the year that OL Reign had, like they struggled. They really struggled to find the back of the net. It took a while for them to turn things around. And the comparison for Matt Potter to take this team that was the last ranked team ending the year in 2021 and make them a playoff contender, moving right along into the semifinal. I think Potter could definitely win this one. And I really like the looks of Casey Stoney winning this. As you said, an expansion side coming in, making differences and changing things. But for me personally, I give my vote to Matt Potter on this one, because when you look at the roster that he was handed at the start of this year, all the injuries that Kansas City faced, and how he was able to utilize so many rookies on this Kansas City side to make them a great team and really, really play as a group of 11 on the pitch, right? Like you've got Elise Bennett, you've got Alex Luera, you've got Jenna Weinbrenner. Like you have so many young, inexperienced players. And to make a team that is so cohesive out of that is incredibly, incredibly impressive when you're without what would be your superstars in Sam Ewis and Lynn Williams. And like Casey Stoney, right? Like obviously a great coach. Like these are all incredible coaches, but like she does have some superstars on her team. She's got big superstars on her team that I think help carry the load a little bit off of the coach's back, right? You've got Kaylin Sheridan in goal, nominated for Goalkeeper of the Year. You've got Naomi Gurma, nominated for Defender of the Year, Rookie of the Year, MVP. You've got Alex Mordan, Golden Boot winner, nominated for MVP of the Year. I think that when you have such a star-driven team, it takes a little bit of the shine away just from the coach. And it's not Casey
No, I hear you.
It's not Casey Stoney's fault, but I'm saying like Matt Potter has like, he's created such a team at Kansas City. So that's why I give my vote to him.
No, I feel you. I think it's a good case to make for Potter. I think when you're looking at Harvey and Stoney, you can sort of have that similar argument, like you just mentioned, sort of having big stars with big experience and sort of, helping their head coaches navigate the seasons, right? Big time players who come up with big time moments. And each of those coaches have that in, Harvey and somebody like a Rapinoe, or Stoney and somebody like an Alex Morgan. But looking at these 3, I do wonder if Matt Potter is perhaps the dark horse of the three of them, right? I think folks will maybe look at the hardware, the fact that Harvey, is coming out of this season no matter what with a third NWSL shield with this Reign franchise. The fact that Stoney is doing what she did, coming from a women's super league that just plays a bit differently, and coming into this league and immediately making adjustments to get her team situated and get familiarized with the very transitional play of NWSL. It's tough to have so many stars in your locker room and make sure that they're a cohesive unit.
Yep.
The other side of that argument is that that's no easy task either, right? So I have a feeling Potter might be the dark horse of these three, and it might come down to Harvey and Stoney. But I think I just can't overlook what Stoney has done with the San Diego this year, in light of also maybe having to navigate some injuries at times with players. And I think what they put together this year is very, very special. So I wouldn't be surprised if Stoney walks away with this one. But we'll see how they shake out. Like I said, voting has concluded for these, and we'll eventually start getting the winners. They will eventually tally these, total votes up, and we'll start seeing the winners. I believe the voting is broken down between players, coaches, media, and fans as well. Everyone sort of getting a certain percentage of the pie. I believe player and coaching votes weighing much heavier than media and or fan votes. So we'll see how everything kind of shakes out for the end of the year awards. And so as people are keeping an eye on those individual awards, it's off season for some other clubs already. In fact, only 4 teams are still in contention for the NWSL championship. So that means everybody else is navigating their official off season. And that means that for the first time in NWSL history, there is going to be NWSL Free Agency. Exciting times for the league and honestly for the players. This was something that was fought for within the new collective bargaining agreement between the league and the NWSL Players Association. Players who have met the eligibility requirement of, I believe it is 6 years of service within the league, are now eligible to negotiate their contracts within free agency. But it wasn't without a little bit of discourse. Of course, it's the first year, right, where free agency is introduced in the league. And so naturally, there was a little bit of pushback in terms of what actually qualifies, what contract actually qualifies free agency. There are certain players with 6 years of service who had contract options on their player contracts. So there was some back and forth between PA, the league, ownership. Arbitrary hearings had to take place on October 4th and October 6th. But guess what? They said, listen, the third party arbitrator said, listen, this is what was written and this is what stands and this is what it is moving forward. So now those 22 players who were a little bit up in the air about free agency are officially joined the full slate of players who can begin negotiations.
Yes, I think the details of it. This is what happens when you write a CBA and you think you put all the details in there. I mean, we talked to PA Executive Director Megan Burke about this, and she was like, "Yeah, we went through everything. We figured out the details, but there's always going to be loopholes," and that's really what it came down to. And it wasn't a matter of like days of free agency; it was a matter of months of free agency, because those 22 players that had options to extend their contract through 2023, they were not going to be eligible for free agency until November 15th. That's what the NWSL was saying for them. So the PA was arguing that the option needed to have been exercised prior to the start of free agency, which was late August. Otherwise, the player was a free agency. So before this, the clubs didn't have to decide until November 15th that they were going to use their option or not for the player for the next year. So it turns out that all of these players are now free agents. They've slotted into that. They kind of got what they wanted, right, in terms of winning this and everything like that. So now 22 players joined the initial group given free agency. So there's a lengthy list of free agency players. You can find it on the NWSL website for sure. But it's very exciting time for these players. Sandra?
Muted myself, y'all. I got so excited. It's an exciting time, I think, for all these players because some of the names that drop, Lisa, it's like these are players who have had minimum of 6 years of playing time in the league. So these aren't players that people are unfamiliar with. These are players who have been staples of their franchises, quite frankly. You know, you see, if you're watching us and joining us live on YouTube, you can sort of see the image here that we've got up. Just some of the names that stand out. Lauren Barnes, someone who's been with Oil Reign since the inaugural season of this league. Players like Danny Colaprico or Vanessa DiBernardo, who were drafted by the Red Stars and have been part of the Red Stars franchise for some time. Big names, right? Players who have won World Cups, you know, players like Morgan Gautrat or Tobin Heath, who are listed on here. Well, multiple years, multi-leagues, quite frankly. Christine Sinclair, you know, the leading international goal scorer, you know, Canadian international, longtime Portland Thorns player, you know, on listed on this as well. Sophie Smith, you know, her Canadian compatriot, currently playing with Houston Dash, also on this list, you know, as well. Other international players, somebody like a Jodie Taylor, right? English international listed on here as well. So it's a lot of players listed on it. And I am curious as to how free agency will shake out. Will a lot of these players ultimately, you know, negotiate directly with clubs that they have been a part of for a long time? Or, you know, what will the market look like for, you know, some teams who are looking to sort of, you know, boost up their rosters ahead of the 2023 season? It's going to be an exciting time for sure.
It is very exciting especially for these players that now have the freedom of their lives and of their career professionally to make those decisions about what they want to do, go where they want, play where they want to play, with who they want to play with, and for how much money they think they deserve. It's very exciting time. Finally, we're reaping so many of the benefits that the CBA provided for these players. And I'm really, really excited for the offseason to kind of see what happens with all of these free agents.
We'll have to keep an eye on it, and we will. We do our news and notes episodes as often as we can and sort of be able to fill in everybody and what is happening across the globe. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. That's all we've got today. Download, follow, and listen to Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If you like what you hear, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps us out so much here at the pod. You can catch us too. Subscribe on youtube.com/Attacking Third to get alerts whenever we go live, and make sure you get your tickets to the NWSL Championship in Washington, D.C., and you can see us.
We'll be there
for our live show. We're so hyped about it. We'll be back with more coverage, exclusive interviews with our NWSL playoff coverage on Thursday.
Go Phils.
Yeah, go Phillies. Go everybody in Philadelphia for Lisa, for Sandra and Lisa Roman. This was Attacking Third.